Now, those events in Syria, the continuing violence there, and the diplomatic focus is now turning back to the Security Council. France is proposing a new resolution which would include humanitarian corridors into Syria from neighbouring countries, and it hopes that Russia and China will agree to action based simply on humanitarian grounds. How could it work? Well, Iraq has its own problems, so a humanitarian corridor is unlikely to come across there. Lebanon and Jordan, well, they've made it clear that they won't take part. So the only real options are from over the border in Turkey, or possibly by sea, a British naval base in southern Cyprus, and the aid could then be shipped to one of the main ports on the mainland. Timur Goksel, I spoke to him. He's a former spokesman and advisor for the UN's interim force in Lebanon. He says without the assistance of the Syrian government, it would be impossible for a humanitarian corridor to work.
Unless the host country, in this case Syria, no matter what we think about it, unless they agree, you cannot establish a corridor by yourself, whether you're an international organization, an alliance, or a state. You cannot simply say, this is a corridor and I'm going to use it. That corridor has to have the consent of the host state. Otherwise, such a corridor is not feasible. It cannot be protected militarily. You just cannot have a corridor, and you do need the cooperation and the consent of the host country. Otherwise, it's not doable, no. If we get the Syrians to agree to such a humanitarian convoy system, they will not use the term corridor. That implies giving up land, giving up sovereignty over land. I don't think they'll agree to that. But if you can get them to agree to escort, to protect these convoys, but you have to pay a certain price for it. I'm sure they are going to demand to know what is in the convoys. They might want to see the manifests or maybe even physically check it. But if they assure the safety of these convoys, then it can work. But again, it has to be done with the Syrians.